it's wonderful to be here with you today, Oleg. I'm delighted to be with you. I've long admired your work on all things leadership, clearly as you as a leader, a coach, a speaker, and an author, and particularly around visionary leadership. And I love how you always bring lots of engaging stories, analogies, anecdotes into your work. And today, we're going to be talking about nature and fishing in particular. And as a fisherman, as you as a master fisherman, if I've got the technical term, what that tells us about leadership and life. And I've loved reading it. I mean, there are 224, not 3, not 5, 224 lessons from the wisdom of nature, which I've just loved reading. It's been rich, very personal, and then you always draw out in each sort of mini chapter the lessons that we can take away. So I take my hat off to you. So we are going to dig into what nature can tell us, and also think about what it tells you as a person and as a leader. Because when I think about nature, I often think, and leadership or business, we often think of, it's good to go for a walk, it clears the head. And it is. Or we might think how you use it as a prompt for coaching. What do you see there, and what does it tell you about the world, or what's going on in inside game? But you cover a lot more than that. So let's dig in, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. It's great to chat to you,
Fantastic. Let's just start off with an easy question, because and I want an intuitive response and just a short response. When you think about leadership, that's the topic that you practice day in, day out. What are the words that come to mind when you hear the word leadership?
Leadership is our leaders are responsible for the future. This is about an ability to think and act for a better future for people. It's about analogy. Success in fishing comes when you become a part of nature. Success in leadership comes when you're part of people, or you're helping them to get into the better future. So it's about adding value every day to people. And I have learned a great thing. Fishing is a labor of love, and leadership is a labor of love. And love and care for people for their better future are my tackles to catch people's hearts and minds.
Oh, I love that. I love the fact that you emphasize many times there already the people element, because some leaders, or bosses, I should probably say, often forget that and sort of treat people like machines or robots or numbers on a page or on a spreadsheet. So that's refreshing. And when you think about all the work that you've done or you've read, or people in leadership roles, what are the particular myths or misconceptions or things you think, people just get this wrong all the time? You sort of tear your hair out. What would you call out as perhaps the top 1 or 2?
Actually, of course, I do read different books or articles. I agree with some of the authors, and I totally don't agree with others. But I'm still trying to learn from everyone. I might not agree with someone, but I learn because it's about diversity of thinking.
Very diplomatic.
It's not about diplomatic.
No, I understand.
Certain thoughts will come later, and you must still be in position. Hey, I would not go that route. It's one thing, because many people talk about consensus in leadership, which is totally wrong. Leadership is about being clear and firm about direction where we'll get people. It's not about pleasing everyone. We are looking for consensus when we don't know where to go. And that's a bit of a disaster. I don't need a captain to cross to be in a port. I need a captain to cross rough seas. That's a very different game. I can't imagine captain on board of a ship telling, hey guys, should we go fishing or should we go back to harbor? It doesn't work,
It's interesting it's interesting especially with the fascination and popularity of more open approaches to strategy, to innovation. I think some people confuse them, as you say, with either being a democracy, everyone gets a vote. They may be involved at some say, but they're going to vote, or this sort of consensus thing, which clearly, as you say, you have to make a call. You have to make a decision. You've already thrown in a few, I'm going to keep those puns there. You've already thrown in a few examples there from fishing. So obviously you have a background and people should read about it in your book, in fishing and being a master fisherman. You talk about nature. And I guess fishing in specifically, but nature more broadly, being the wisest coach, leadership coach, and it's a source.
It is.
And I quote, not a resource.
It is.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What does that mean?
You see, I will put it from a different angle. People are scared to shit about AI coming, because what we will do, it will lead us, it will be in control of us. Nothing to worry about. AI only reflects what we know. And so, more or less, we're not learning from AI. It reflects our accumulated knowledge. But what we could learn from, or from whom we could learn a lot, is nature, because it's always different. We know little, and it's always wiser than ourselves. David, think for how many centuries or thousands of years humans tried to kill nature, and it's still around us. We're polluting nature, but nature never polluted us. We are learning from nature, but I don't know what nature is learning about us. I got a big question. Words were crossed often, and it's very important for leadership, particularly for visionary leadership. Nature is not about being smart, it's about being wise. We could share wisdom, but we can't share smartness.
What's the difference in your view of this between the two?
When you're in nature, you're reading weak signals. The wind is changing, the clouds are different, the water is changing the level, something will come up. So
Yes.
the things would go different from now on, and it's not like clear sign. Your Zoom session is about to time out. It's nothing about this. You must read those weak signals and connect the dots. Here would be a solution for the forthcoming changes. When we talk about AI or today's approach that everyone must be smart, it's about facts. And when we talk about leadership, you're creating something valuable from people with having no information or knowledge at hand, because we know nothing about the future unless we create it. So more or less, you are facing a new environment, you're coming to a new river somewhere in Arctic. How much do you know about this river? Not much. And so you're learning. You have some basic or experience from before, but different rivers or different lakes.
Yes.
You're learning or you're building up from a new. No way I could help you with that.
So let's dig into that. So I imagine, even if your experience, you're in the Arctic. I mean, your adrenaline's flowing around your body, demanding. As I said, even if you're experienced, you're under pressure.
Yeah.
People watching you, their livelihoods, their lives depending on you. How do you keep a clear head? How do you, whether it's because of the conditions or what you envisage, even if you have some fear, which I imagine comes in from time to time, how do you keep the right mindset and how do you make the right decisions in that context?
Imagine one of my friends, I invited him for fishing into Arctic. And like in the first hour, he said, look, usually the places where a lot of oil have a lot of midges. And he said to me, I don't know about oil here, but you're the best in the world about midges.
Right.
Idea is simple. People are focusing on problems, like on those midges around you. We have millions of them.
Yes.
And they're not thinking forward. They're thinking about what's going on now. Leadership is about not fighting those tiny devils. It's about looking for solutions. What I could do: get a mosquito mask, or get a spray, or wash
Yes.
yourself regularly, or find some kind of other solution that would keep you working on doing what you're supposed to do. It's one thing. It's about being clear that you are not interacting with the entire world. You are not responsible for entire world, but you're responsible for what you do now, and you're interacting with that piece of nature which you must become a part of it.
Ah, yes. Yes.
You are not, call it, a visitor. You must be a part of it. I believe, David, how many times in your strategy advisor, how many times you saw CEOs who are coming to those companies knowing, oh, I came to this company for a few years, whatever will be done, doesn't matter. I'm just like a transitionary population part of it here.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in nature. If you want to have an outcome for yourself, for the nature, you must clearly feel responsible for being there. You're
So that's a
not
realization. So being part of it
it
then,
is.
and that's a very deep point, which is you're not sort of an observer.
No.
You sort of have to be in tune and part of it. How do you learn? And I think as organizations, those people you talk about who play transitionary roles, they're pretty forgettable, most of
Yeah.
them. Not all, but most of them. But the people who really get the organization, its DNA and so forth, how do you get into that mindset of, is it relaxation? Is it focus? What's worked for you? You've been in these situations yourself as a master fisherman.
I would put it that way. Leadership is a game of mindsets. Because it's and that game is defined not by you as a leader. It's defined by people.
Mm.
You're playing for people, and it's not about events. It's about how people will behave or how they will act under your leadership.
Mm.
The same in fishing. Fishing is a game of mindset. The only difference is a fish in the water and you standing on a bank or standing waist deep in the water. Doesn't matter, you
Mm.
know. And it demands two things: a strong mindset and a mastery. Because there are no accidental fishermen for salmon, and there are no accidental leaders, you know.
Mm. Yes,
And
yes, I
it's
love
all
that.
about, I don't know anyone who is prepared to tolerate inconsistency. And nature doesn't tolerate inconsistency. Leadership stands on
Mm.
consistency. Therefore, we need a strong mindset developed that is responsible for consistency of thinking and actions, of course.
Yes.
It's not about outsmarting people, it's about outsmarting best solutions for people and what to create and be really, really consistent, having your mind in command, not reflexes. You know, I don't think I would be happy to work that purely emotional leader. You could imagine. You you
Mm.
want someone with a calm mind, confident in doing something. And this is very much about getting it to the level of mastery. I love the quote. It's a famous Persian, philosopher, Al Ghazali, and he said, "Desire makes slaves out of kings, while patience makes kings out of slaves."
Mm.
Because when we say, "Oh, I know something, I will do it quickly," no, 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 no. It's all about improving, repetition, repetition, repetition.
That repetition and that consistent, it requires a lot of discipline,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Um, how do you avoid unhealthy or unnecessary distractions? And that could be from somebody in your team. It could be something in the environment around you. But there are lots and lots of distractions that could pull you in a different direction or steer you in a different direction, I should say. How do you maintain that discipline when the world's full of good or bad things to explore?
We tend to think, on average, for about 10 seconds. Majority of people these days are good at holding one thought for 10 seconds on average. We're too much distracted in a way where our minds are polluted with noise.
Mm. Mm.
Can you come with a great solution if you've been thinking about it for 10 seconds? No chance. It demands deep thinking, and therefore it's all about getting what I could do better. It's all about that I will try this or I will try that. It's it's about being bold in your thinking. So
Mm.
you're not just like, hey, I'm on reflexes. No, no. You're responsible for the best solutions. It's nothing about your reflex. You could employ your intuition, which is important. But it's
Yes,
not
yes.
about just like, hey, I will do flimsy flamsy something. It doesn't work. I have learned one thing. If too much chaos, I see too much chaos outside, it's a strong signal for me that I have a chaos in my mind.
Mm.
Think for a moment. We reflect or mirroring what's going on around us, right? And therefore, whatever happens, events, different bad news, if we watch TV, I hardly remember days where we hear good news from TV, right? And it get adding a mess
Mm.
into our minds. That means it's a strong signal that I have a chaos in my mind. I must be calm. What's important, I will focus on it. What's not relevant, get rid of it.
Just thinking that's about the individual, and that's very powerful. You talk about obviously roles on a boat, on a ship, and obviously in an organisation, and the danger of having passengers, people not putting their full effort and not being masters. How do you? And in some ways, that's a very compelling point. It sounds like common sense as well. But how do you avoid hiring, bringing those passengers on board? What do you look out for when you're recruiting or bringing your team together at the beginning?
Of course, the initial point is you would never see a passenger on board of a trawler because all working hard. We're all responsible
Mm.
for each other's life and so forth. It's all about this. What's important to understand? Passengers, they never add value. If I see that someone is not adding value, I wouldn't say instantly, but in a short period of time,
Mm.
it's a bad signal. I need to pay attention to it. Another
Yes.
thing is a very interesting point. When we come, I have an approach. If we cook together, we eat together. And passengers, if you would think, they always have the largest spoon in a team. They want
Yes.
the most, but
Yes.
they're bringing nothing, right? And
Mm.
therefore, and another strong signal is they're always trying to disrupt others. They're trying to show that they do something, and therefore they're running around, hey, I have that. And you're looking at them, man, you better be busy with your stuff rather than, showing pieces of paper or some kind of a silly reports.
Yes.
You've
That's
never
that's
been
true.
asked to do this. You've been asked to do this.
Yes.
But passengers, they're draining a lot of energy out of the crew or of a team.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
They are more or less, whilst others are rowing or doing some hard work, they're sitting and consuming what we have on board, like in a food stock or fresh water. They're just consumers.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
That's
adding
interesting.
any value. They're taking
Yes.
resources from you. Vampires.
I mean, building on that, one thing that comes up in your book and your work is obviously explicitly a sense of determination, to create that better future that you talked about at the beginning of this conversation and to get closer to the vision. And that requires, as you say, discipline, I mentioned, determination. And the question I have is, many people, however, don't have it or don't seem to have it. Whatever reason, is whether it's their mindset, it's where they've come from. But that's so important for a high performing team. How do you, if you've got somebody who perhaps doesn't share the same determination, but you think has the right mindset, but they perhaps haven't had it that hard in life, so they haven't had to work at it. How do you build that sense of real determination, focus, and resilience? You don't want to give up on them yet. You don't want to, I was going to say throw them overboard. You're not allowed to do that, of course. But how do you stick with them and nurture and help them?
I still believe that sometime we need to get those people off a boat, right? Because
So you're quite ruthless about it,
oh
in the
yeah,
sense if they
look,
don't
we
have it,
have so many cabins on board of a trawler, right? Why should I accommodate those people on board if they are not adding value? More or less, I need to take care of them, but they are not taking care of others, right? The same within any business. I need so many people in my team to create an outcome. And those people are simply like, imagine a startup. They plan to have 10 people on board, and 3 of them do nothing. That means 30% are simply wasted, right? But they're affecting the work of others. That means it's far more than 30%. Can startup
Yeah.
afford to lose 30%
No,
or
no.
more of its performance?
No, I agree. The question I have is, it's a brilliant point, but how do you maintain enough space for growth? Because no one's perfect, of
No,
course. We're all learning day in, day out. So that contributing value, I guess the point is they're contributing something. It probably could be better through those marginal changes that you talked about at the beginning of the conversation. But is it the fact that they are already delivering value and you think they can do more, as opposed to somebody who's destructive or lazy or something else?
it's about me being a role model for these people as a leader. I must show what's
Mm.
potential.
Mm.
Leadership is not about betting on weaknesses. Leadership is about revealing people's strengths. I have my vision leadership coaching certification program, and all people I'm taking on board, we have a simple key principle. We are here to reveal the greatness of each other.
Love that. Yes.
We all have different roles. We all have different abilities. We all have different strengths. Therefore, do your best to reveal the best in people.
Mm.
That's very simple.
Yes, I love that. I'm struck with that comment, and then I come back to your introductory remarks, which were all about leadership being about serving people, creating a better future for people. That care that you referred to. The question I have is that many people are intentionally or unconsciously self-absorbed. Yet they may be listening to this, and I hope some are thinking, you know what, actually, how much am I really doing a good job for the people around me? If you are that person, and you have a signal from you, Oleg, you think, actually, I need to change the dial, but I've been a little bit focused on myself, perhaps a bit egocentric, self-absorbed. How can you develop more of that, more people-based, more servant-based approach to leadership?
Actually, it's a very interesting question, and it took me quite a long while to grasp it myself. And here I'm grateful to nature that because I learned from nature that I'm not absorbing it. The nature absorbs me. Whatever in the environment. And then I realized in leadership, it's not me being in command and controlling everything. No, it's those people who are absorbing me. Thousands of eyes, just on me all the time. So a leader is always an absorbed observer. Because, and bear in mind, at first, every leader is judged by his weak points when he is coming to a company. And if failed, a leader is always judged by his weak points again. And therefore, when a leader trying to hide those weak points, believe me, people will reveal it immediately. They will make it up. If people resist change, they're looking for weaknesses in leader as reasons why this change wouldn't work.
Yes.
So they're looking for those things. But bear in mind that a credit to a leader is given on the terms of people, not on the leader's terms. And therefore think about self from their viewpoint. I'm only a part of it. And if they take me naturally, that's great. But if they're just still picking is good or not good or something like that, that's something of a dissonance in it.
It's a very deep realization about
yes.
where your role is. And I think my sense is, and I think back to different people I've worked with and even my own journey, thinking, as you said, it takes a while. Some people, and I'm not sure, will get it. And you'll see it in their impact and perhaps the lack of followership.
David, you could imagine most of us are living in some kind of a closed world, right? As a closed system. We are all surrounded by walls because people tell us, we tell ourselves, I can't do this. We're surrounded by mirrors when we're lying to ourselves. Am I good or I'm not good? We're still not very fair in judging selves. And we're surrounded by lies. People are lying to us, voluntary or involuntary, and therefore we're putting ourselves in such little boxes of closed systems. But when you're in nature, you're learning how to be a part, even small part, or fraction of a huge open world. The world is bigger. How good am I in this world? And you don't have a mirror when you're on a river or in a woods, right? Your capacity is revealed in a way how you could survive, how you could challenge yourself. And therefore, it's all about being true, but you're becoming true when you feel yourself a part of that open system.
Yes.
Think how many times in your life you've been judged by different psychologists or HR experts in terms, you're fitting into that box.
Yes, that was the problem, Oleg. That was the problem. I didn't always, and now I've created my own one.
Exactly.
But that's a different. Yes. Even the idea of a box sort of frightened me. But it's interesting that picture of being in a system. I mean, when you think about systems, I think many people I know think, wow, there's lots of systemic opportunities out there, and they look for spaces and gaps and so on strategically. Other people are fearful because it's a bigger world with a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty is a term that comes up all the time about how you navigate it, how you make good decisions and so forth. I was struck with one of your stories around, when you fell into icy water, like really, really cold icy water, and there's a lot of danger, uncertainty as to what's going to happen. What did that teach you? That episode teach you, which was one of the brilliant stories in your book, about uncertainty as a leader and how to handle it.
Oh yeah. It's, when you fall through the water, your first reaction, I will fight it. No, you can't. What you could do is only to find as soon as possible, in a matter of fractions of seconds, which direction to crawl on the ice, and get out of that icy cold bath, right? So it's not about fighting something huge as cold, but it's about being able to do something which within your capacity.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
one thing,
Yes.
which will be fairly certain, right? It's about understanding, not joking around, but it's about how we'll get into the safe position. And here again, it comes a point. I'm utilizing my strengths. Okay, I could use my physical power or strengths or whatever. It's not about weaknesses. I don't like cold. Doesn't matter. Use your strengths.
Yes.
I must create certainty within that uncertain environment. I came up with a simple idea. Noah, that famous Noah, knew about uncertainty of life and the certainty of forthcoming changes. People believed in the certainty of life and that forthcoming changes are uncertain. We know the rest of that story. Therefore, whatever happens, be prepared that you must be quick with that solution.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
I've the one of many things I took away from your collection of stories and the lessons you draw for us is the sheer intensity, the challenge that you faced on a daily basis. Often extreme conditions, and I'm curious about you now. You are an ambitious person. You publish a lot. You do great courses that you referred to earlier. You coach people. How do you get the same? How do you create the same intensity of high performance in an environment where, candidly, we operate in similar-ish, circles. You're not fighting icy cold waters. I'm sure the clients are challenging, but how do you get the same buzz and excitement and intensity from your work now when you look back at it and compare it with being a fisherman?
Facing strong storms, I have learned to be a storm myself. And actually, I must be the storm which is stronger than forthcoming challenges. It's never easy. It wouldn't make you fearless. It will make you experience it. You would know how to fight it. When you're facing challenges, you must think, is it really a storm or is it just a noise?
Yes.
Because we're often in panic just of something that never happened. I have a power to choose which storm to go through or to fully realize, okay, I'm already in that storm and how to handle it. If you got into the storm, keep going. Don't surrender. Keep going. And you will understand that no storm, no challenge would last forever.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
keep fighting and you will see the bright end. It's like, I know many people who start with writing books and end up like after a few pages. Keep fighting, keep exploring, keep working. And always be thankful for every challenge because this is a great opportunity for growth. Because, to become the storm, you must go through those storms which are given to you to reveal that strength.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. That's
It's
a great way to put it.
and it could be in everything. It could be in personal life. It could be in business. Regardless, with your health, it could be whatever. Just be stronger. It's being stronger is not given to us. It's our decision whether you give up or you carry on.
Yes.
It's a decision.
Yes. That's illuminating. Let's continue that theme of as a more philosophical
Okay.
aspect of this conversation. What is the impact you're looking to have around you, in the world around you?
David, I'm not about to make impact as such. I'm not a celebrity, right? I do my humble work, but my aim to create grand solutions for many leaders across the globe, right? And my aim is to create as many as possible visionary leaders who will make that world better.
Yeah, that's very clear.
And you see, because I came from a very practical background, it's all about what solutions, practical solutions, I could share with people. Therefore, I'm testing those solutions myself. I must be absolutely confident that they will work. Therefore, I didn't made up like 300 lessons. Whatever number of lessons I have, 224, I wrote 224 lessons. You know,
I thought that was the engineer in you coming speaking. When I thought that, and I knew a bit about you before, and I read about you, and I thought, yeah, there's the engineer. It's 224.
No, it's
Brilliant.
all the stories are real. Therefore, it's real experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, and therefore, it's about creating not just grand solutions, but practical solutions.
Yes,
And
real.
that
Yeah.
called a KPI. I hate KPIs. But therefore, in this sense, okay, that's my metric. How solution is practical. Because advice is always a theory, which must be proved by those who are doing it in reality. And therefore, it must be how I could make it simple and practical, where people could pick it up immediately. More or less, it's like I produce a micro oven, and here is a manual instruction. People could like plug it in, press a button, and it works. Simple.
And it's harder to make it real and practical. I think there's a lot of people out there, candidly, who talk a good game, sounds very good, and then you ask the question, so how do I do that in my own way? And it's like, there's a gap, and hence it sort of stays as nice sort of candy to sort of taste, and you take it all in, but nothing happens. So I applaud you for that. And coming back to I want to talk about your best days and also your mindset, because mindset's been a big theme in this conversation. And I take my hat off to you in terms of your wisdom and clarity and patience. What practices in your day-to-day life help you keep that mindset and also help you do your best possible work? They could be routines, habits, things that you do professionally or personally.
Every book, every project, I'm starting from a new. Like I know nothing. It's like more or less in fishing. Every season is very different. You can't catch all the fish in a river with the same fly. Every every salmon demands some kind of a unique approach. And it's very picky. We know nothing about it. And therefore, I'm always learning from a new. I've learned something that if I challenge myself, I can withstand any storm. Therefore, every project must be a bit bigger than previous project or more valuable.
Yes,
Maybe small in scale, but it's still more valuable. What I have learned so far is not relevant for tomorrow. I must be very quick in learning. I must be not just, I must be furiously quick in learning.
Yes, but with a smile, furiously.
Oh, yeah,
with
because
a smile.
you must be positive. You can't create a great future being negative. You must be positive.
And that's the spirit of this conversation. And Oleg, I've loved speaking with you. The book is fantastic.
Thank you very much.
It's rich and colourful. It's got good humour. It's serious.
People could enjoy it.
And I do too. And I loved talking with you, and it's very enriching, stimulating, and a deep conversation, but also with lots of practical things that people can take away. So thank you for your time today. That was another edition of Lancefield on the Line. I do hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please do check out the other episodes in this series, subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast, give us a nice rating. And Oleg, thank you ever so much again.
Bless you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.